It all started with a gunshot that split the quiet of my backyard at dawn. I was sitting at my kitchen table, coffee in hand, watching the sunrise paint the horizon gold when I reviewed the footage from my roof cam. There she was, clear as day, Linda, my neighbor, silhouetted in her second-story window, a pistol in her grip, the muzzle flashing like a warning. The timestamp burned into the corner of the video, the audio crisp, undeniable. She thought she could scare me off. She didn't know I was a SWAT instructor on medical leave, trained to outmaneuver chaos without breaking a sweat. I didn't storm over to her house or call her out. That's not how I play. Instead, I sipped my coffee, now switched to chamomile for the irony, and let her think she'd won the first move. I knew this was a chess game, and I had the board mapped out in my head. Linda strutted onto her lawn that morning, her yappy little dog trailing behind, tossing smug comments loud enough for me to hear. "Gotta keep this neighborhood safe from weirdos," she said, while VYing at a passing neighbor. I didn't flinch. That rattled her more than any shouting match could. Over the next few days, I turned my property into a fortress not with barbed wire or floodlights, but with quiet, calculated upgrades. I tweaked my cameras to upload straight to the cloud, added a motion sensor along the west fence, and swapped my doorbell for one that streamed to an off-site drive. My yard, once just a spot for morning yoga, became a trap for stupidity. I wasn't plotting revenge. I was waiting for Linda to trip over her own ego. She didn't disappoint. By midweek, she'd kicked things up a notch, plastering fake HOA notices on my door, public indecency, noise pollution, even unregulated body rituals. Each one was printed on cheap letterhead, taped up like she was serving royal edicts. I kept them all in a folder, EVY Denke piling up. Then, Wednesday night, my cameras caught her sneaking into my yard, planting broken glass in the flower bed near my yoga mat. It was so sloppy it almost made me laugh. I let her finish, watched her scurry off like a spooked raccoon, then cleaned it up and saved the footage. Thursday, I decided it was time to show my face at the HOA meeting. I'd avoided them, hoping to stay low-key, but Linda was spinning lies faster than I could ignore. The community center was a beige box that reeked of stale coffee and regret. Eyes locked on me the second I walked in. Linda sat up front, flanked by two cronies, smirking like she'd already buried me. I took a seat in the back, silent, waiting. She stood, clutching a flash drive, voice dripping with drama. "We've got a problem in our peaceful community," she declared, plugging in her drive. Up came a choppy montage of me doing yoga, edited with creepy music and captions like, "Unidentified ritual," and "Potential cult activity." She pointed to a laminated map, jabbing at it. "Here he's facing east at sunrise, classic invocation. Here's incense, could be drugs. And this pose? Clearly targeting women." The room went dead quiet, awkward. I stood, slow and calm, and asked to speak. The HOA chair, a jittery guy who looked like he'd rather be golfing, nodded. I faced the crowd. "I'm Nathan. Moved here on medical leave after 10 years as a SWAT instructor. That's me doing yoga, prescribed by my doctor for stress. The incense is eucalyptus. The mat's mine. The land's mine. And Linda? She fired a live round into my yard 6 days ago." Gasps rippled through the room. "I've got video of the shooting, her trespassing, and those fake notices. It's all with the sheriff now. Just letting you know, since she's using your HOA's name." The silence that followed was thicker than fog. Linda's cronies squirmed. She stammered about deepfakes, but no one bought it. I sat down, letting my words sink in. After the meeting, a few neighbors cornered me, apologizing for staying quiet. One, an ex-lawyer named Susan, whispered, "She got booted from 2 neighborhoods before this. Her husband's some fake war hero. Don't let her bait you." I nodded, knowing Linda wouldn't back off. She'd double down. And she did. Friday, I woke to my fence spray-painted red. "This is not a training camp." With a stick figure of me in a yoga pose, the VYL horns scrawled on. I snapped a photo, left it up for the neighborhood to see, and filed a vandalism report. My cameras showed Linda at 4 a.m., one sock on, gloves glowing in infrared, shaking with rage as she painted. I didn't feel angry, just curious, almost sorry for her. What kind of delusion makes someone think yoga's a threat to freedom? But Linda wasn't done. She built a security tower in her yard, an old lifeguard chair with a patio umbrella zip-tied on top. She perched there with binoculars and a notepad, her dog barking at nothing while she scribbled like a prison guard. Neighbors started avoiding me, some with guilty smiles, others too spooked by Linda's flyers. She'd plastered the block with them, claiming I was a paramilitary trainer, running covert body control ops, disguised as yoga. One had a grainy photo of my arm, a scar from a botched breaching drill circled in red, labeled "Suspected Gang Tattoo." I collected the flyers, tempted to rip them down but didn't. The crazier she looked, the less anyone believed her. Still, she kept pushing. One night, I caught her on camera creeping by my garage, jamming a fake sign into my breaker box. "Hazard, unauthorized power supply." I flipped on the floodlights. She froze mid-step, like a kid caught sneaking candy. "You're trespassing," I said, phone recording. She mumbled about community safety and bolted. I filed another report. The sheriff's office was starting to see her for what she was. Deputy Claire, who'd handled the shooting, reviewed the new footage and sighed. "She's not just annoying. She's unstable." I handed over more EVY Denke, Linda blasting "Stars and Stripes Forever" from a balcony speaker every time I stepped outside, timed to my yoga sessions. She'd even shout between tracks, "This is America, not a yoga resort." I didn't react. That drove her nuts. Then came the nails dozens scattered in my driveway, placed to pop tires. Claire shook her head when she saw them. "This is dangerous now." My cameras had Linda, hooded, dropping them like a cartoon VY lane. The next day, the HOA president, a retired accountant named Tom, showed up with an envelope. Inside were neighbor statements about Linda's snooping, harassment, even her spying on their yards for cult EVY Denke. "We're voting to strip her PRIVY legies," Tom said. "We were too polite for too long." That night, Linda went full bizarre. At midnight I heard thuds by my garage. She was pushing a shopping cart full of bricks, stacking them across my driveway like a barricade, muttering, "He can't leave until he faces the tribunal." I recorded it all and called the sheriff. Deputies arrived, looking exhausted, and told her to go home or face arrest. She screamed about yoga being a foreign attack, but they issued a final warning. For 2 days it was quiet. Too quiet. I knew Linda wasn't done, she was plotting. On the third morning, my cameras caught her wheeling a rusty cart onto her lawn, loaded with camping gear, signs, and a megaphone. She hung a banner. "Defend family values, expose the yogi." By 7 a.m., she was shouting through the megaphone, a one-woman protest ranting about yoga conspiracies and me hypnotizing teens with meditation. Her dog wore a cardboard sign. "Say anotio stretching." Neighbors peeked from behind hedges, some recording, others while VYing apologies my way. I stayed inside, letting her dig her own grave. Deputy Claire arrived after 3 neighbor complaints, flipping through Linda's EVY Denke papers with a sigh. "You're disturbing the peace," she said. Linda pointed at my house, shrieking, "He's a threat to our moral ecosystem." Claire ordered her to stop or face a mental health hold. Linda stormed inside, Leah VYing her signs up like war flags. That night, my stomach sank. Reviewing footage, I saw Linda twice near my back window, holding what looked like a radio scanner, trying to eavesdrop. I sent the clips to Claire, who replied, "This is criminal now. We're opening a case." The next morning, Linda struck again, taping flyers across the block, my yoga photo distorted, labeled, "Enemy of the State, Exercise Cult Exposed." Neighbors tore them down, one even knocking on my door to apologize. The tide had turned. Tom asked me to speak at the next HOA meeting, not about yoga, but to share my law enforcement experience for conflict mediation. I agreed, knowing silence had enabled Linda too long. That evening, I did yoga under the stars, the air smelling of jasmine. Kids biked past Linda's house, giggling at her signs. She glared but stayed inside. A neighbor played classical music, drowning out her old marches. Peace was creeping back. The final act came at dawn. I saw Linda in a black hoodie and camo pants, sneaking into my yard with a duffel bag sagging with weight. I locked my door, pulled up my security feeds, and hit the alert. A drone cam buzzed above, catching her unzipping the Baga bolt-action rifle, unregistered, illegal. She crouched, aiming at my deck. I stayed inside, heart steady. Deputy Claire arrived silently, lights off. My old SWAT buddy, Marcus, pulled up in an unmarked SUV, vest on. They surrounded her in seconds. Marcus pinned her, kicking the rifle away. Linda thrashed, screaming about yoga cults and patriots under siege. Her dog snapped at the officers as they cuffed her. I stepped outside, hands in pockets, meeting her glare. "You did this," she spat. I turned and walked inside. Neighbors watched, phones out, as Linda's myth crumbled. Claire later confirmed the rifle was unregistered, with charges for illegal possession, trespassing, and attempted assault. The HOA disavowed her, revoking her membership and starting a mental wellness program. Tom thanked me for my restraint. That night, I did yoga under the stars, no sirens, just wind. Peace reclaimed. Weeks later, normalcy returned. Neighbors waved, some joined my yoga from their yards. Susan joked I was a neighborhood menace turned coach. I spoke at the community center about spotting escalation, emphasizing calm as strategy. Online, clips of Linda's arrest and flyers went viral, titled, "Karen tries to shoot yoga guy, regrets it." I didn't post them. I didn't need to. Linda's house sold fast. New neighbors, a young couple with a baby, moved in, friendly and normal. I helped fix their security lights, feeling a quiet VY Tory. Her watchtower was dismantled, her chaos erased. Yoga wasn't the point, it was about staying steady when madness shakes the fence. And as I stretched under the morning sky, I knew, the truth doesn't need a fight. It just needs time.